All right, so I want to talk about Beatles for sale. Now, the Beatles, 1964 was a hectic year for the Beatles. Just before the year began, they produced an album called With the Beatles, which had the same picture on it, and and they also made the single for "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and they were huge hits, and they thought that they were a one-hit wonder, so they had to do everything they could while they still could. So they went on this punishing world tour, and in the midst of all that, they also had to do a movie, A Hard Day's Night. But they didn't want to just use their old songs for the movie, so they recorded a whole British album worth of songs, only some of which got actually used in the movie. And then, toward the end of the year, they made this album, Beatles for Sale. And you can look at this picture, you can see that this year is wearing them out. But, in that time, in about a year's time, they made 3 full British albums worth of stuff, which got turned in, and 2 of those got turned into these 4 American albums. And so it's actually just 2 more, 6 American albums worth of stuff in about a year's time. It's wearing them out. But a lot of this stuff from this era sounds pretty much the same. And the few, and they, when they play their concerts, women would just scream at them, and so loud that they couldn't even hear the music. They couldn't hear themselves play. And the few baby boomers I've met that don't like the Beatles, I think they were traumatized by this year, by 1964, and the stuff that they put out then. Their later stuff that first turned me on was very, very different. And the same day that this album came out, I Feel Fine, the single, also came out, and that was the beginning of change. But let's go through the individual tracks of this. So, it starts off with No Reply, sung by John, and then another John song, I'm a Loser, and then John and Paul singing together, Babies in Black. And John sings a Chuck Berry song, Rock and Roll Music, and that's followed by Paul singing, I'll Follow the Sun. And then John sings a obscure Roy Lee Johnson song called Mr. Moonlight. And that's followed by Paul singing a medley, which originally was only credited as Kansas City, but it's actually a medley of Kansas City and Hey, 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 Hey. And those are from Little Richard and Mike Stroller and Jerry Lieber. So, more covers. And then on side 2, it starts off with a fade in of 8 days a week, followed by Buddy Holly's Words of Love. And both those are sung, 8 Days a Week is sung by Paul and John. Words of Love is a trio with John, Paul, and George. And then Ringo gets to sing Carl Perkins' song, Honey Don't. And that's followed by John singing Every Little Thing. And then John and Paul together singing, I don't want to spoil the party. And then Paul gets to sing What You're Doing. And finally, George gets to sing by himself, Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby, a Carl Perkins song, which is kind of descriptive of the life that they were leading at the time. So, not much good on this. 8 Days a Week is good, and Babies in Black kind of like, but that's a cover. But mostly, uh, I like every Beatles song, so I won't say there's anything I dislike on this, but this is not my go-to favorite album either. So, but it's Beatles, so it's worth having.